Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome to the review show where we have a look back at what's happened last weekend. Britain are down a world champion. Nick Bull lost to Brandon Figueroa with a late stoppage. Ben, you weren't in the preview show, so I guess we'll start with you. What did you make of the fight as a whole?
Well, we've got Nick Bull actually here as well, so we can ask him a lot of questions today.
No, I'll make no secret. I'm a big fan of Nick Bull, so I was very disappointed. I did try and step to watch it, but I ended up falling asleep, I think, about
such an old man. 3
rounds into it, but caught up in the morning. Some shot from Brandon Figueroa, to be fair, in that 12th round. Not that it mattered anyway, because I think he was 2 or 3 rounds up on 2 of the judges' scorecards, so if they had made it to the end of the fight, he would have picked it up on a split decision anyway, but I think you two spoke about it last week. It's a close contest. I think it was hard to sort of see how it was going to go because it was a interesting sort of clash of styles. Maybe the first time Nick Bull has come up against someone that probably wants to sit in the pocket and trade with him as much as he likes to do it. So weren't necessarily sure how that was going to go. But I thought Brandon Figueroa done very well. Really good performance. He's looked good in his last few fights now, and it's set up another big fight for him, probably a unification fight now at that world level. But Nick Bull can come again after this. It's not the end of the world. It was a good close contest for the most part. He got caught with that big shot, obviously in the 12th round. I'm guessing more than likely his corner have told him going into that last round, look, you're probably going to need to go out and stop him. And I think he was probably just he just went a bit too much for it too quickly and left himself open to that shot. But yeah, it was a good fight, I thought. Interesting matchup. What
was the scorecards in the end? Have you got it there?
I don't have them on me. I think one of the 3 judges had Nick Bull up slightly. The other 2 had him down. To be honest, the one who had him up slightly wasn't a great card. I think for me, going into, I wasn't scoring it exactly, but going into sort of mid to late rounds, sort of 8-9 rounds in,
after round 8,
it was relatively even, I think. And then Brandon Figueroa picked up those later rounds. And I think that 3rd judge that had it up to Nick Bull had, I think, 3 out of the last 4 rounds going to Nick Bull, which I can't see it. I mean, like you said, though, we've seen a couple times fighters try and punch with Nick Bull, and generally they've unraveled. But actually what happened this time was over the course of the fight, I think Bull unraveled slightly with the power. He did look big. He looked more powerful. He was able to catch Nick Bull on the way back out with that extra range, which I think he made good use of. And he just, there was a few times in the sort of 3-4 rounds, I think it was, where Nick Bull got caught with a shot and he looked a little bit sort of kind of stood to attention after that shot. And you thought, oh, okay. And then I think a bit of that British bias in me was like, he'll be fine. He's got a chin. And to be fair to him, he done very well to even get up from that shot, that counter on the left side. But a bit like Ben, I caught up on Sunday morning, and when I saw the shot before I went to sleep on Saturday night, I thought, oh, he's caught him really late in the 12th round. What drama and all. I didn't realise it was right at the start of the 12th round. That like, you talk about a shot that from the gods. It felt like that in a way, and I had Figueroa winning clearly by like 3 or 4 rounds. I think from round 8 onwards, I thought it was just going in his favour. He was getting more of the success. And like Ben touched on, how many times have we sort of seen a fighter take it to Nick Bull and actually want to fight him in close, not at range? How many times have we said that? I feel like we have seen it with Ray Ford, I think, did it. I think.
Yeah, but what I mean is with the height.
But they haven't been able to do it.
But Figueroa had the reach, had the height on him. Why did he was like fighting Nick Bull's fight, and you were sort of watching it going, is this the right game plan? But as the fight went on, you're like, he's got it bang on.
He wasn't fighting with the inside as such though, was he? He was punching with him, but he's got the benefit of then when Bull's coming out of range, he can get that one extra shot. I mean, and Bull landed a couple nice uppercuts. There was a few big shots in there that, a lesser man might not have been able to ride in the same way as Figueroa did, but he did well to take some of that damage. But I think like you said, over the course of the fight, I think he probably did more damage. And then we saw the culmination of that in that 12th round with Nick Bull is susceptible at times to being countered off those big hooks. He does leave that side open. And Figueroa was able to, with the extra range, just slip that shot slightly, ride it a bit, and time him on the counter. So
that is probably the best shot he's thrown in his whole career, though.
It
was such a flush, clean shot, but he set it up very well. And I was surprised the Nick Ball got up from that. When I was catching up in the morning, I thought that was the shot that ended it because he looked out of it. And I was surprised he even got up from that one. He done well to recover from that, but yeah, it was a really good shot. And going back to that one scorecard in particular, obviously there had Nick Ball winning. That's probably one of the reasons why you've seen such sort of dramatic celebrations after it was waved off, because it's not often that you see a challenger go sort of in the away corner in a world title contest where it was quite nip and tuck, it was close, and they get it on a split decision. If anything, you normally always see a go, especially I think in the UK, is probably fair to say there's maybe a slight bias there when it comes to UK judges scoring UK fighters when they're fighting at home. So that was probably why there was such wild celebrations, because they might have been thinking in their own heads, we need to go out and get a stoppage here because it's close enough that we might not get this decision. But yeah, it was a really good fight, I thought. And like I said, both fighters have got still plenty of interesting matchups to go forward to.
Do you think it was a mistake in matchmaking from Queensberry, or do you think it was just a good fight and the better man came on the right side of it on the night?
We were talking before, it was a voluntary defence by...
I believe so, yeah.
So they picked Brandon Figueroa knowing the sort of dangers and all that was coming towards Nick Ball.
I don't know, however, I don't know how many sort of genuine challengers there were in and around. He's beaten a lot of them already. We talked about that run he's been on since... Isaac Dobo and then Ray Vargas, Ray Ford. It's been an unbelievable run, and maybe it was just one fight too many. And also a lot of those fights have been close. Yeah. You know, the Ray Vargas fight, he didn't get the decision, but we had him winning it. But either way, it was a very close fight. The Ray Ford fight
was that a split?
Was a very close. It was a draw, I think. It was.
Okay.
The Ray Ford fight was a very close fight, so it was only a matter of time, I think, in a kind of 50-50 close fight where he was going to fall onto the wrong side of it. It just so happened to come right after we sung all his praises for about 30 minutes or so. But,
yeah, to be fair, he's done a good job being the sort of flag bearer for British boxing, and now we've picked up a couple of extra world champions. He's lost his belt, but...
Well, he's done his job, hasn't he? So he's probably gone, you know what, let them have it.
When you fight to that level, it is just, it's so competitive, I suppose. That fight could have gone a different way on the weekend. Like I said, he caught him with some very nice uppercuts, especially earlier in the fight. Like one of those landed a bit more flush, maybe it could have caused problems, or if he was a bit cleaner with his work, a bit more defensively sound, it could have gone the other way, because the scorecards ultimately were only a few rounds, if depending on how it went. But yeah, I think it was just one of those nights where Figueroa was the better fighter. He deserved the win, and I think he moves on now to... Well, I'd like to see another unification fight. Is it Bruce Carrington is the...
you've got Bruce Carrington and Angelo Leo is the IBF champion. Either of those fights would be great fights. I do think Carrington's probably the strongest champion at that division. I think that's either of those fights are tough fights, but Figueroa's, shown and proven, he's a 2-weight champion already, 3-time world champion, I believe.
Yeah.
He's shown that he's clearly got the minerals to fight the very best.
And the thing I can't believe is the durability of him. How, as the fight was going on, you could see that Ball was somewhat getting tired, whereas Figueroa, every round was he's getting fresher and fresher and fresher. Perhaps that's the experience of, there was a stat in the fight. It might have been 12, he's been in 12-round fights in the last sort of, I want to say 6 to 10 fights maybe, if not more.
There's quite a number. It's let's have a quick look.
Yeah, it could even be more than 10.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
13.
I think roughly that's a very quick count, but that's a lot of 12-rounders.
Well, exactly. But it was a great fight. The only thing is probably the talking point that everyone is talking about since the fight, not the performance by Brandon Figueroa, is his celebrations.
Yeah.
For me watching it, you've just won on away soil. You two boys are home football fans more than me.
Yeah.
You've been in away ends where you scored a late winner, probably Leeds and probably Cardiff, actually. That's probably never happened, but there we go. It takes over. But you get the emotion, don't you? You know, you're high on emotion. You're giving it a big one to the home faithful and all that.
Do you know what, though? I think I watched it live and I hadn't seen, obviously, I think it was Rob Tebbett and Adiola Depot that have both separately kind of come out. And obviously I don't think there's video evidence of anything that they've said. So, you know, I suppose we have to take it with a pinch of salt, but there's no reason that those two would make it up, that Andrew Cain has come in and kicked a member
there is a video.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
So Cain's come in and kicked a member of the team. They've gone to the change room and told them to quiet it down while Bull's being checked. I think it's a shame. I think, like you say, we've seen it so many times. Off the top of my head, I remember, and this isn't a dig at him, but Adam Azim doing a backflip while his opponent was still, you know, flat on his face. Things like that. And I know you saw it when Tom Welland suffered quite a big stoppage, an upset in Essex, and then that was a kind of a big kind of. I think it's when we've seen it when it's the other way round. You know, Andrew Cain's celebrations when he won his fight were massive. You know, the whole team in the ring shouting, jumping up on the rope. Same with Jack Turner. I think it feels a bit entitled. You know, let them celebrate you've lost. I don't actually think that Bull would have been the kind of person to go kind of, oh, can you shut them up? I think somebody's taken it upon themselves to have a problem with them celebrating.
I think it's embarrassing. I think Andrew Cain should be embarrassed for the way he acted. And I think he will be embarrassed looking back at it. Like, I know in the heat of the moment, you know, Figueroa's team is celebrating. They've just picked up probably one of, if not the biggest win of his career. Mm-hmm. I know Nick Ball was down and he was being checked on, but if that was the other way around, if Nick Ball lands that shot, wins in the 12th round, there's no consideration there from any of those the members of Queensbury for Figueroa.
Ball walked out the ring. Yeah. He walked back to the changing room. You know, it wasn't. I remember again. I watched live. It wasn't long before he was walking out the ring, and fine. It was a big stoppage, but it was by no means a sort of. We've all seen them. The moments where you're kind of heart in your throat, thinking, "Oh God, you know, this is bad." I don't think it was one of those. So I think
you see it all too often, though. I think, like with some of the examples you brought up, I was there obviously for the Tom Welland one. The Tom Welland one was quite bad, I think, because of the way he was knocked out. It was in a bad way, but you see it a lot, I think, especially with the home fighters when they get beat. If they get beat in that way, there's almost straight to jump on to quiet the celebrations. Whereas if it's the other way round, that never happens really, unless it's a really bad knockout where they can see instantly, right, we've got a problem. But yeah, I just think it was quite unfair on Figueroa's team. Like they've done well, they've come over here, they've picked up the win. Like, and I didn't feel like they were out of order in the way they celebrated either. It weren't as if they were making, you know, you're in the 12th round of a world title contest on away soil. Like, if you can't celebrate winning that, when can you ever celebrate in sport? It just makes no sense.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, Nick Bull's, kicked TJ Dehaney, Andrew Cain's kicked. Maybe they need to, you know, stick. And from that, like, it's a shame because Andrew Cain picked up an unbelievable victory. You know, to win, to be dropped twice in the 8th round, I want to say it was.
Two body shots.
Looks down and out. Saved by the bell, so to speak, or, you know, there was no time left in the round.
He was saved by the bell. There was no...
Yeah, but a round's only... I get it, he was saved by the bell, but the reason he was saved by the bell was because it took him 2 minutes 30 to drop him for the first time.
As soon as he heard that bell ring, he went, oh my God, thank God for that. Get me to that corner.
But then to win in the fashion, to then get 2 knockdowns in the following round, to stop the opponent, you know, that's unbelievable, but it is overshadowed by the fact that you've gone and decided to do that afterwards.
Talking about that though, do you feel like, I know he got the 2 knockdowns, do you feel like that was a bit early on the stoppage?
Yeah.
So you give Andrew Cain all the benefit of the doubt to get up and continue. I know the head shots were different to the body shots, but he seemed quite quick to want to wave that off compared to Andrew Cain.
I watched it back this morning just to see the dramatic moment, and having watched it back, I didn't think when I saw the referee coming over to stop it, I didn't think that was the one that he stopped it, because the fighter looks fine. But at the time, I didn't see it as an early stoppage. But having watched about this morning,
I think he still could have gone on
he looked
to get
right.
the stoppage.
He wasn't facing the referee though, was he? He was walking back.
he was walking to the neutral
but-
corner.
That's maybe the referee went, oh, he doesn't know where he is
But
yet.
he's done the gloves
If
up.
I was the other way round and Andrew Cain.
No, I agree. No, but what I mean is that's probably what the referee's looking at as going, right,
you've
he's
got-
walking that way. He doesn't know where he is. Call it off.
I'm with Ben.
I
that
think you've got to give the same benefit of the doubt to both
I think
fighters.
the ref appeared all too keen to wave that off. And like you said, he'd done the gloves up, show you I'm fine, and then started walking to the neutral corner, and the ref's blown it off while he is. And yes, there wasn't much time left.
He wasn't complaining though afterwards, was he?
I think he was a bit. He
I think he
turned and looked to the ref
accepted.
and was like, hang on, what?
And then realised his eye was busted and just was looking
Yeah,
down.
the
on
eye was
floor
bad.
there.
And he still could have gone on to, I don't know how much
He was
longer
close.
was in the round.
That would have been
but
funny. It could have easily been 4-all. Especially with those 2 knockdowns. He could have been going into that 9th round just thinking, right, just box on the back foot here and we can maybe sneak a decision win. But fair play to Andrew Cain. But the problem is now that victory is a bit... There's a bit of taste in your mouth because he's ruined it with his actions afterwards, which the British Boxing Board of Control are probably going to have to look at and probably sit him down like you do and tell him off and say, look, you can't be doing that. Here's a fine or something like that. They won't ban him.
It'll be a slap on the wrist. And it's a final eliminator for the WBC world title. He's getting a world title fight next, which is unbelievable going. Yeah. Fair play to him.
So I'm guessing that Joshua John British title fight isn't happening.
You'd imagine so. Yeah, you'd imagine
Joshua
that's
John.
been...
I generally think Joshua John and Andrew Cain would have been a good fight. I would have liked to have seen it. I think especially after watching the two of them in their last few fights, I think it would have been really competitive.
Yeah.
Any idea why that was off?
Well, what was off?
The Joshua John.
Well, because he's just won a WBC world title final eliminator. You're not going to
go for a British.
It's not being announced
when
off, but you're not going to step down.
No, the
and
first
fight.
time they were meant to fight each other up in Liverpool.
Oh, it was all,
when they did a press conference face to face.
There was chaos with the board apparently.
But yeah, it looks like we talked about Inoue coming to Liverpool before, and it looks like we may yet get an Inoue
Look at this.
in Liverpool. Unfortunately, it's not now Inoue, Nick Ball. It'll likely be Andrew Cain, Takuma Inoue. But
the little brother?
Yeah, little Inoue, yeah.
Look at that.
Hopefully Inoue comes with him just for some moral support.
Well, I imagine he's not gonna. And then, as we mentioned previously, falls in love with the city, decides he wants to fight in Bramley-Moore Dock, and then we get to see Nick Ball versus Naoya Inoue. Maybe we'll see it one day, or it would most likely be Anfield, but that seems an ambitious one to fill.
Tell you another possible pound-for-pound fighter that could be making their way to Liverpool as well after Jack Turner's win, because I think he was calling out Jesse Bam Rodriguez as well. So
he was, yeah. And that to be fair to Jack Turner, wow, what a win.
Good.
What an opponent as well he had. I'm not being funny. That is the definition of a guy that's been put in there that doesn't want to be there.
I don't blame him either. And I think he did want to be there until just the end of the first round, where he gets hit with a beautiful left hook.
But you thought the guard had him, but it was just a precise shot that got in between.
Yeah, it was a lovely little shot. And
really good.
He's so powerful. I think we've seen, I want to say his last performance was a little bit more difficult. He made slightly harder work of it than we've seen previously. But when he's up and firing and he catches you, it's a long night, or it's a very short night. But for the time you're in there, it's not particularly enjoyable.
9 minutes that he was probably in there for probably felt like an eternity. Didn't
it's
it?
just the sound of the punches as well.
Yeah.
For a fighter in the lower weight classes, he just I wouldn't want to be on the end of one of those.
Yeah, to carry that weight at super flyweight is impressive. It's not something we've seen all too often. Fighters that really genuinely carry that early stoppage, big power. And do you know what? We talked about this in the preview. That we said it would be a relatively uninteresting night of boxing.
That's one of the first things I put in my notes from the fight card.
It was quite good, wasn't it?
What was I talking about? I enjoyed it.
Brad Strand's fight was very good, I thought.
Good stoppage,
Hassan Ishak, I thought, looked really good.
Talk about
Power and speed. It's that classic combo. If you can land shots fast and hard, then you've got a good shot to stop anyone.
But we did technically call it right though, didn't we? Even though we said about the sort of competitiveness of the card, we did go everyone probably barring the main event is a win on the left-hand side.
There was two. There was one earlier in the night.
Really?
Yeah. Paddy Lacey lost to Jack Swallow, which was a bit of an upset over a 6-rounder, but that was a points decision. And then obviously, Figueroa. So we were near enough right.
I think we were right to criticise though, weren't we?
There's so many fights, and they were all of the same, ilk. They were all prospect versus journeyman.
The main card, how many people were from Nick Ball's gym on the main card? There's like 3 of them.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of them. Yeah. But I thought it was a decent night of boxing. I thought it was overall. Are we saying for Figueroa then? Are we leaning towards Carrington, Angelo, Leo? Where are we?
You don't rematch Ball now, do you?
One of those two, I think, in a unification fight, I think makes sense. And then for Nick Ball, I'd like to see him and Nathaniel Collins.
That'd be a great fight.
I think that would have been the plan anyway if Nick Ball had won on Saturday to do a defence against, because Nathaniel Collins is the European champion, and that could be his step up to a world title.
Is he not?
But he drew the last time, didn't he?
Yeah, he lost against. He drew against Cristobal Lorente, but I thought the Lee McGregor fight was a WBC silver, if I'm not mistaken. So he might have some world rankings left. So it even makes more sense to try and make that fight.
Yeah, I suppose.
With Nathaniel Collins to kind of get yourself back into that world title picture.
Do you reckon Jazza Dickens and Ansu Kakachi, Brandon Figueroa could look up and go,
Yeah, I mean, he's got a big frame, Figueroa, doesn't he? But and it's impressive he's already come up. Or did he drop down to featherweight? I can't remember. But either way, I think he does have the frame that he could fill out at super feather. So, I think there's an interesting one there.
Get him over the double. That's probably, talk about Queensberry cards though. That's the one we're looking for. You forget about that on Saturday night. The main event was superb. The undercard, meh. But the next 2 cards that they've got coming, perhaps maybe not Owen Cooper, Ursi. That's a brilliant fight, but the undercard's probably going to be similar. The one in Dublin and the one in Manchester is full of quality.
Do you think they put Nick Ball straight back in with Nathaniel Collins, or do you think there is a little kind of confidence booster reset fight?
Possibly.
Because we've seen it before where fighters lose for the first time and they go into a second fight where they probably should be winning it, but it's a difficult enough test. And then they fall short again because they're just lacking that confidence, that edge to really let their hands go. Is that worth doing? Just kind of have a little reset.
Yeah, I think so. There's a possibility there. Also, depending on what is happening with Nathaniel Collins, I suppose, whether he's got anything else lined up. But I don't think, or I hope anyway, that result on Saturday doesn't dent Nick Ball's confidence too much, because it weren't as if it was a really bad loss. It was just, I think he come off second best on the night in a close contest, but I have no doubt he'll still have plenty of big nights yet and some big fights in that division still.
Yeah, Frank will be kicking himself, mind, won't he? Because that is the domestic ticket seller that they've had strong, like we said, for the last couple of years with that world title. That's now kind of lost a little bit of that appeal with the losing of the world title. So they'll be wanting to get him another one round his waist pretty soon, so they can continue those fights, because those nights in Liverpool with that same core group of fighters, the Andrew Cains, Brad Strand, Jack Turner, and Nick Ball, that group have kind of continuously fought and entertained and stopped, and the momentum that those guys create in fighting in unison. The kind of, when you had that big stoppage from Brad Strand, big stoppage from Jack Turner, dramatic finish from Andrew Cain, the energy in the arena's built up, and then obviously, unfortunately, Nick Ball hasn't, put the cherry on top. But
I think the good thing with sort of those 4 or 5, you've got Steve Clark as well, who was
good performance.
You could
by him as well.
almost sort of interchange all 5 of them depending on who's in the biggest fight and stick them on the main event, because Liverpool is out and out the fighting city. They're always going to back their own fighters. So if you can stack a card with those 5 and a couple of other decent undercard fighters who are, new prospects or whatever, or somewhat local fighters, I think you're always going to have a good night of fights in Liverpool.
Yeah, fair enough. While we're on the topic of British world champions, to save our next week's episode, or later in the week's episode, being quite so messy, Daniel Dubois, Fabio Wardley looks like it's in the talks, which is nice, because it means no matter what, we'll finish that night with the same number of British world champions as we went into it. Yeah, what do we make of that as a fight?
I've literally only just heard about this just before
right now?
I've not seen anything about it, but
Yeah, it's apparently in talks. They've started talking about it. I think it's a great fight. I think it's a proper kind of 50-50, two punchers, two obviously world level fighters, domestic draw. Like, it's got the lot, I think, for British fighters, for British fight
I think
fans.
that depends a lot on how Fabio Wardley deals with Dubois' jab.
Yeah.
I think that will be the difference maker in that fight. It'd be interesting to see where they do that as well. Would you?
Yeah, stadium? Yeah, I don't think that does a stadium. Maybe O2.
I think it does do a
You
stadium.
reckon?
I think it could possibly.
If it has the right
British
card,
fighters.
undercard on it, I think that definitely has to do. I mean, yes, it's not Dubois Usyk, but it's not, that undercard wasn't particularly strong. So if you got a little bit of an undercard under there,
Yeah.
you know,
They
there
need to
is
get it
talks
back
for
up
it.
in Ipswich, I reckon. Get Daniel
Ooh,
Dubois in
yeah.
a Norwich shirt.
Yeah, to be fair, in Portman Road,
Oh, we've seen that story before.
because realistically, if they're talking about it now, it's getting towards the
Yeah.
summer.
When does the football season end? May?
Yeah, about May time. So
Yeah.
there's time for it to maybe go in Portman Road, possibly a championship ground or a Premier League ground at that time. We won't know just yet. But
It's a tough fight for both mine, ain't it? Obviously, Daniel Dubois is back with Don Charles now.
that's what we want to see, isn't it? Tough fights for both
Yeah.
fighters. You should be going into a fight thinking either man can win, and obviously punches, chance, and all that. Every fighter can win. You know, representing
Look at that,
both.
Mitch coming soon.
But you know, yeah, there's scope, isn't there, for
Yeah.
either man to.
And
pick
I
up
think the
that.
heavyweight division at the moment domestically, you look as well, Derek Chisora, Deontay Wilder's fighting each other. There's me getting excited for their sort of back and forths that they're going to be having over the next few weeks, but they seem to be best friends at the moment, or have all got the same thoughts about Tyson Fury. But you want a top domestic British fight, and that's what we're getting. Daniel Dubois, Fabio Wardley hopefully gets made. If it's a stadium, I'll be very shocked. I reckon O2 is probably where they're aiming to put it at. It won't do Wembley, won't do Tottenham. I think
probably not.
if it's a stadium, it's Ipswich. If not, O2. But it's a good fight for Dubois to come back into. But from the sort of who's got the momentum at the moment, I'm sort of going in the way of Fabio Wardley, saying that Fabio Wardley could cause, I wouldn't even say it's an upset now. I think that's where people,
Yeah.
I think
You
that's
have to
where
change
people need
it.
to stop. When you talk about Fabio Wardley at the top end of the heavyweight division, his wins that he's getting, I think people have to stop saying they're upset.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
the Joseph Parker fight, in a way, was kind of an upset, but I don't think it was a massive,
the Parker
massive
fight
upset.
was an upset.
No, I don't.
Coming into the Parker fight, you've just lost 11 rounds pretty much against Justice Huni and stopped him in dramatic fashion late on, and then you're going in against a man who's fought Joshua, Zhang, Dubois, or he was meant to fight Dubois, beating Bacoli.
Parker's fought Zhang.
Yeah. Parker got dropped about
lost
4
to
times to
Zhang.
Zhang.
Oh,
He won.
yeah,
No, he
yeah,
won it.
sorry.
He won it
Yeah,
on
he
points,
won,
but he
yeah.
got
Sorry.
dropped a number of times.
Oh, yeah. I
The
remember.
momentum he was on going into that Wardley fight, Parker was the absolute favourite for that one. I think you have to say
he was.
he was probably number 2 or 3 in the world at that time, considering that
People were calling for Joseph Parker to be fighting Usyk.
Yeah, considering Dubois
Just before.
didn't have the Parker fight, people were basically putting Parker as the number 2 heavyweight in the world going into that fight.
So the way the fight played out, though, it was a bit like, oh, okay, Fabio Wardley is
he's
a
that
real
guy.
deal at heavyweight. But I've given my prediction for it. What's your early prediction for Wardley Dubois?
I think it does come down to what Ben said, that jab. I do think that Wardley under Ben Davison will be patient. I think he'll know that he can kind of work around that jab. And I think he also will know that if you do, Dubois got a great chin, but
Yeah.
he is stoppable. He's not a heavyweight where you go, I'll have to throw everything and the kitchen sink at to stop him. So my initial reaction is, like you say, you have to back the momentum of Fabio Wardley, but I think it's 55-45 at a push. I think it's a razor tight.
It's how
fight.
long Daniel Dubois can stay interested in the fight.
It's
I feel
a
like as
war
well.
of confidence, I
Yeah.
think, because you got Wardley, who is, riding this wave, just seems unbeatable, even in the fights where he's really up against it. He just pulls out that shot from nowhere. Dubois is coming off that, obviously, quite bad defeat to Usyk, which I think would have dented his confidence a bit, and he is a confidence fighter. I think he needs that confidence in him, and I think it could depend on how the early rounds go, because if he can get on top early and he can build that confidence, I think he'd be all right. But if it's a lot of back and forth, if Fabio Wardley's landing some flush shots quite early or, getting through, then I could see where it'd unravel for Dubois then.
Dubois is more of a puncher than Parker, though, I think. I don't think Wardley could soak up some of that damage he took in that fight in the same way against Dubois. So that's why I think it's such a close fight. It really is. It's more of a question of whose chin falters first, more than anything.
I don't know if we've necessarily seen Wardley really take a flush shot as well, or
Fraser Clark won.
Be hurt to the point.
Yeah, but I don't think Clark's that fighter. If Dubois lands flush on any heavyweight in the world, it's game over, I believe. And so if he lands flush on Wardley, it's game over. But I do think that Wardley's confidence. But then we've seen confidence be a detriment to fighters. If you're too confident, you almost don't. You either you believe that big shot from you is coming always, or the opposite. You just don't. You're not scared that shot's going to come back the other way, and it only takes that momentary lapse in judgment.
I think that's the benefit for Wardley there, though, is he's very good at sticking to a game plan. Like you've seen it with the Hooley fighters, like you've seen it with a few of his last fights, especially under Ben Davison. He works very hard to find that sort of one little chink in the armour of an opponent, where this is where you might have to wait until the back end of the fight, but if you can land that punch at the right time, it could make the difference. And I think it could be a benefit to him in this if he can withstand that early pressure from Dubois and just set up one of those big shots where he catches Dubois flush. And I think Dubois is one of those fighters where if you get him and he's on the back foot, that's where he can fall apart. Like you almost seen it to a point in the Joshua fight, even though he knocked him down 3 or 4 times, he got caught with that shot and was going backwards. But to be fair to him, he done well there, but it was against the Joshua who was pretty much already completely spent.
Yeah, like 30%, yeah.
Like I think if Joshua had waited an extra round in that fight to get his legs underneath him a bit more, could have seen a different fight completely. And yeah, that's my only issue with Dubois, is that confidence.
I think we're quick to write him off because he's lost again, but it wasn't Usyk.
I wouldn't write him off. Like that was top tier Usyk as well. Like not many heavyweights.
And he was
he didn't do it right against Usyk though, did he? I think the sort of thing of going pushing him and all that, you don't do that against a great, do you? Because that's just fueling the fire for.
I think I got the sense from Usyk I was at the Fight Week press conference. I just got the sense he was peeved anyway.
Yeah.
I think this narrative of that night in Poland being, the low blow and he doesn't deserve. And I think Usyk really took that and said, no, let me show you, I am the best heavyweight on the planet, and he did that night. Yeah. Absolutely, it was spiteful.
So what we're going, Wardley for the fight, or is it? Don't get splinters. Can't have splinters. So
if you had to put your money on the table,
Wardley.
So all of us going Wardley.
I think
just for the confidence.
Does he stop him?
I think he has to stop him.
Yeah. So
I don't think he wins by.
I honestly
decision.
wouldn't be shocked if Dubois made it look easy though.
God, no,
like it could just be one of them. Like it's one of those fights that's got the capability to make it look very stupid, no matter.
It can be done quick, long, in the middle. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we don't look even more stupid and it doesn't happen at all. and then we look really daft. So we just wasted the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes talking about it.
It's nice to talk about it anyway.
Yeah, get excited for it. Let us know if anyone's still listening, watching on YouTube. If you guys have any thoughts on that fight, if you think Dubois, Wardley, which way you're leaning, and obviously let us know anything about the Nick Ball, Andrew Cain fight, all of that sort of stuff. If you have enjoyed this one, we've got another one coming to you later in the week. There's not any sort of concrete previewing stuff, but there's plenty going on in boxing. We've got an all-women's card, Shakur Stevenson's back, arguing with the WBC, all that good stuff. So if you like the sound of that, stick around, and we'll see you all later in the week.
Punches chance. Punches Chance Podcast.